Hi! In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make these bracelets right here. These bracelets are my own original designs, and they are called the Spartan Helmet bracelet. And by Spartan I don't mean Halo, the video game, I mean the ancient civilization or town, or I can't even remember what it's called now. Darn it, but that is what this bracelet is called, the Spartan Helmet bracelet. And that's what this one is themed. And then this one is something else. It's kind of like a zebra. But yeah. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you what you're going to need. To make this bracelet, you're going to need your loom. Any loom will work, but the instructions for this tutorial are for looms that have 13 pins in each pin bar. So you will hear me say 13th pin or 12th pin. If you do hear me say that, just know the 12th pins are the second to last pins and the 13th pins are the last pins, but that's just if I say that. I will have a caption if I do. You will also need your hook. Any hook will work, and I would recommend using a hook that can at least make a triple single. And I'm going to be using my Rainbow Loom metal tip hook because of the colors I'm using. And you will also need a clip. Any clip will work as well, as long as it is for rubber band bracelets, or you can use it for rubber band bracelets. Alright, now as you can see here, you're also going to need rubber bands, of course. And as you can see, I have two different groups. I have the A rubber bands and the B rubber bands, and I'm going to explain what each group is. So these A rubber bands in this A group are the rubber bands that will make up the actual bracelet. So this here on the bottom, and is kind of this gold color. So this here on the bottom. Then these B rubber bands are going to be the frills on top. So these kind of just sitting there rubber bands, and they are red here in this example. And that's what these B rubber bands are. Wee. So anyway, the number of each group of rubber bands you're going to need is going to appear on the screen now. Alright, and now that you know what you're going to need, get your supplies and use the pause button so that you can do so, and I will see you once you have everything. Alright, so to begin making this bracelet, you're going to need to make sure that the arrow on your loom is pointing away from you, and you're also going to need all of the B color rubber bands you should have gotten out. And you should have gotten out about 48 of these. Now, placing these B color rubber bands, it's very, very easy. All you're going to do is you're going to start by getting 4 B color rubber bands. That's 5. Oops. And you're going to place them on this second middle pin. So just set them there. Just like that. Then you're going to get 4 more B color rubber bands, and you're now going to place them on this third middle pin. Then again, you're going to get 4 more B color rubber bands, and you're going to place them now on this fourth middle pin. And that's all you're going to do. You're going to continue placing 4 B color rubber bands on each middle pin until you get to this last middle pin. So I'm going to go ahead and continue placing 4 B color rubber bands on each middle pin, and you should as well. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward from here. So use the pause button if you need to. Alright, Now, as you can see here, I have finished placing 4 B color rubber bands on every middle pin, except for this first middle pin. I forgot to mention that before, so make sure you don't have anything on this first middle pin. But now, once you have placed 4 B color rubber bands on every single middle pin, on this middle pin bar, except for the first one, your loom should look something like this. And now, once you have finished placing those B color rubber bands, it is now time to place your A color rubber bands. Alright, so to place these A color rubber bands, you're going to need the arrow on your loom pointing away from you still. And these pink rubber bands are kind of in the way, but the arrow needs to be pointing away from you. And you're also going to need to get 38 A color rubber bands. And you might also want to get your hook because there will be some transferring when we place these A color rubber bands, and that is a little bit difficult on this middle pin bar to use your fingers. But anyway, to begin placing A color rubber bands, we're going to place them on this middle pin bar first. And to do that, we're going to place one of them, going from this first middle pin to this second middle pin. Now, as you can see here, there are B color rubber bands on this second middle pin, this A color rubber band on that pin as well. So what you can do is you're going to get your hook, or you can use your fingers, and you're going to grab these B rubber bands, pull them over the pin they are on, so they're only on one pin, and onto this A color rubber band above them. So make sure you do that for all 4 of the B rubber bands. Now you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going from this second middle pin to this third middle pin. And you're going to get your hook, or use your fingers again, because now there are rubber bands on this third middle pin that you can transfer. And you're just going to get your hook or use your fingers and just take them off of the pin they are on and pull them onto this A color rubber band above. Then once again, you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it now going across this third middle pin and this fourth middle pin. And there are more B color rubber bands that you'll need to transfer, so you'll use your fingers or your hook. Grab the B color rubber bands with whatever you're using, pull them off of the pin and onto this A color rubber band above them. And that's all you're going to do. You're going to place an A color rubber band across the next 2 pins, and then you're going to transfer the B color rubber bands below it onto, well, that A color rubber band. So I'm going to fast forward from here. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so as you can see here, I have finished placing A color rubber bands going down this middle pin bar on my loom, and transferring all of the B color rubber bands from the pins they are on onto the A color rubber band that was placed above them before. And I have stopped placing A color rubber bands when I got to this last middle pin, because, well, there's nothing else really to place after that. So once you have placed those A color rubber bands and transferred those B color rubber bands, you can now put your hook away because you won't need it until it is time to loom your bracelet. And you're now going to place the other 2 rows of rubber bands for your bracelet. So as you can see here, there are 3. Alright, so to place the rubber bands that you will need for the other 2 rows of rubber bands in this bracelet, you're going to return to this first middle pin, and the arrow should still be pointing away from you. And if the arrow was not pointing away from you before, then you place the rubber bands on this middle pin bar incorrectly, and you'll have to redo it, because if you don't, the bracelet will fall apart when you take it off. So anyway, to begin, you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going outwards from this first middle pin to this first left pin. Then you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going from this first left pin to this second left pin. Then again, you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it now going from the second left pin to this third left pin. And placing A color rubber bands on this left pin bar is very easy. You just simply place an A color rubber band on the next 2 pins on your loom, going all the way down this left pin bar. So kind of like you're making a single chain. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward from here. Use the pause button if you need to, and you need to stop placing A color rubber bands when you get to the second to last left pin. Alright, so as you can see here, I have stopped placing A color rubber bands when I got to the second to last left pin, so there's nothing here on this last left pin still. And what you're going to do once you get here is you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going inwards from the second to last left pin to this last left pin. Now I would use pin numbers, but some looms have 14 pins in each pin bar and others have maybe 10 or something. And because not all looms have the same number of pins in each pin bar, I will be using second to last and last in this tutorial. So if you're confused when I say those things, just look at your screen and replicate or kind of copy what I'm doing on my loom. So now, once you have placed A color rubber bands going down this left row of pins on your loom, you're going to return to this first middle pin, and the arrow should still be pointing away from you. And we're now going to place rubber bands on this right row of pins. And to do that, you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going outwards from this first middle pin to this first right pin. So the same thing you did here on the left. Then, just like you did here on the left, you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going from this first right pin to the second right pin. Then, just like you did here on the left, you're going to get another A color rubber band, and you're going to place it going from this second right pin to this third right pin. And you're just going to do the same thing you did here on the left. Now on the right, you're going to place a simple single chain of A color rubber bands going down this right row of pins on your loom. And you're just going to mirror what you did on the left. So once you get up to the second to last right pin, you're going to place an A color rubber band going inwards to this last middle pin. And I will show you once I get there, and once you get there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward this little clip here. Use the pause button if you need to. So as you can see here, I have stopped placing A color rubber bands going down my right pin bar, or my right row of pins, when I got to the second to last right pin, just like I did here on the left. Now you're going to do the same thing here on the right as you've done on the left. You're going to get another A color rubber band and place it going inwards from the second to last right pin to this last middle pin. So now you should have something like this at the end of your loom. And now your loom should look something like this. Alright, now once your loom looks something like what I just showed you, you're going to now get ready to place the rubber bands that will hold all 3 rows of these rubber bands already on your loom together. And to do that, you're going to need to get 10 A-color rubber bands. And once you get out these 10 A-color rubber bands, make sure you have 2 of them left. Now, to place the rubber bands that will hold these 3 rows of rubber bands together, you're going to get one of the A-color rubber bands, and we're going to be placing triangle shapes on our loom, and they will also be upside down. The arrow on our loom should be pointing away from us. It's kind of hard to move these pink rubber bands out of the way, but the arrow needs to be pointing away from you. And you're going to place this first A-color rubber band on these second pins. So you'll place this A-color rubber band going from this second left pin to this second middle pin. Then, from this second middle pin outwards to this second right pin, creating an upside down triangle shape on your loom. Now, if you create a triangle shape that is right side up, you either placed this A-color rubber band incorrectly, or the arrow on your loom is pointing towards you, and that means you might have placed the other rubber bands incorrectly. And if you do that, the bracelet will fall apart when you take it off. But anyway, once you place that A-color rubber band on the second pins, there shouldn't be a triangle shape on these first pins. You're going to get another A-color rubber band, and you're going to place it on these third pins now. So you're going to place this A-color rubber band going from this third left pin to this third middle pin, and then outwards to this third right pin, creating another upside down triangle shape. Then you're going to place another A-color rubber band, and now it's going to be on these fourth pins. So you're going to place it going from this fourth left pin to this fourth middle pin, and from this fourth middle pin to this fourth right pin. And that should create another upside down triangle shape. And that's all you're going to do. You're going to continue placing upside down triangles on your loom until you have placed all 10 of the A-color rubber bands you should have gotten out. So I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so as you can see here, I have finished placing the 10 upside down triangle shapes that I need to on my loom. And I just now remembered, because not all looms have the same number of pins, that also means not all looms are going to have the same number of upside down triangles. But as you can see here, I stopped placing upside down triangle shapes when I got to the third to last pins. So here are the last pins. There's nothing on them pretty much. Then the second to last pins create another upside down triangle, and there's not any triangle rubber bands on them. But these pins here, after the second to last pins, have an upside down triangle shape on them. And I do apologize if this is confusing to you. Just look at my loom and kind of copy what's on here on your loom. It's a little difficult because all looms have different number of pins, and I'm trying to make this tutorial for all looms. So just kind of copy what I've done here. But anyway, once you have finished placing upside down triangle shapes on your loom should look something like this. Alright, so once your loom looks something like what I've just shown you, you're going to need to get another A-color rubber band and your hook, because now it is time to loom your bracelet. Alright, so as you can see here, I have my pink background because now it is time to loom. And to loom your bracelet, you're going to need to make sure that the arrow on your loom is now going to be pointing towards you. So you'll need to turn your loom around. And you're also going to need your hook and another A-color rubber band. You should have one more A-color rubber band after you use this one here. So as you can see, I have two. I'm using one. Do the math. But anyway, we're going to be placing this A-color rubber band here first, and this rubber band is going to be a cap band for your bracelet. And to make a cap band, you're going to twist this A-color rubber band into an 8 or infinity shape like this. Then you're going to fold it back over on top of itself like a book. So now it looks like you have two rubber bands instead of one. Then you're going to place this cap band on this first middle pin. Once you have placed your cap band on this first middle pin, you can get your hook and get ready to loom. Now, looming this bracelet is very easy because it's the same thing as looming a triple single. Except for this middle pin bar here, there will be these frill or these extra rubber bands on there. But anyway, we're not going to be looming the middle row of rubber bands yet. Instead, we're going to loom this left row first. At least you should. But anyway, to loom your bracelet, you're just going to pull back the cap band on this first middle pin. Then you're going to grab the top rubber band underneath of this cap band. Oop. There we go. Make sure you hold your cap band down so it does not come off this first middle pin. And you're going to loom this rubber band that is on your hook outwards to this second left pin. That is where this rubber band should be coming from. Then here, once you're on the second left pin, you're going to pull back the top rubber band, grab this bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to the third left pin. Now, if you placed your triangle rubber bands correctly, you should have a triangle rubber band on these third pins. So your first triangle should be here. Anyway, to continue looming, on this third left pin, you're going to pull back the top rubber band, grab the very bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to this fourth left pin. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my loom so that the arrow is pointing to the right. You do not need to do this. I am just doing it so that you can see what I am doing. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to loom one more time. So to loom this left row of rubber bands, or pretty much all of them, you're going to pull back the top rubber band, grab this bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to now this fifth left pin. That is where you should be now. And that's all you're going to do. You're just going to pull back the top rubber band, grab the bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to the next left pin, going all the way down this left row of pins or rubber bands until you get here to this last left pin. So I'm going to go ahead and continue looming. You should as well. And I'm going to fast forward also. So use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so as you can see here, the arrow is still pointing to the right, by the way. I have stopped looming my rubber bands when I got to this last left pin. And once you get to this last left pin, you have this rubber band here that goes inwards from this last left pin to this last middle pin. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to loom that. And to loom this rubber band, so to loom it right here, you're just going to go into this last left pin, grab the bottom rubber band, and loom it inwards to this last middle pin. So wherever this rubber band is coming from. And, oh, that should be here. And now, once you have loomed the left row of rubber bands, it is now time to loom this right row of rubber bands. So, to loom this right row of rubber bands, which that should be the next row you need to loom, or you will loom, you're going to return to this first middle pin, and hint hint, the first middle pin should have a cap band on it, and you're going to still have your hook out, and you're going to pull back the cap band on this first middle pin, so like this, with your hook, and you're going to grab the top rubber band underneath of this cap band, and you might want to hold down the cap band on this first middle pin here so it does not come off, and you're going to loom this rubber band outwards to this second right pin. Then here on this second right pin, you're going to do the exact same as you did on the left. You're going to pull back the top rubber band, grab this bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to this third right pin. And like I said before, if you placed your triangle rubber bands correctly, your first triangle rubber band should be here. But anyway, to loom this rubber band here, on this third right pin, you're going to pull back the top rubber band, grab the bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to this fourth right pin. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my loom so that the arrow is pointing to the left now. You do not need to do this, I'm just doing that so you can see what I am doing. And if the arrow is pointing to the left, I am over here. So, hello. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to loom this row of rubber bands one more time. You're just going to pull back the top rubber band, grab the bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to now this fifth right pin. Ooh. Okay, I don't know why I did that, but just make sure you loom this rubber band. And that's where you should be now. So you should now be on this fifth right pin, and you're just going to continue what you've been doing, pulling back the top rubber band, grabbing the bottom rubber band, and looming it forwards to the next right pin, until you get to this last right pin on your loom. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward from here. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so as you can see here, I have finished looming this right row of rubber bands on my loom. And you can't really tell because it's kind of horizontal or whatever. But this bottom row here is the right row. And now I have stopped on this last right pin. And what I just need to loom now is this rubber band here that goes inwards from this last right pin to this last middle pin. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to loom it. So to loom this rubber band here, you're going to, of course, get your hook, go into this last right pin, grab the bottom rubber band, and loom it inwards to this last middle pin. But as you can see here, I have now loomed this rubber band inwards from this last right pin to this last middle pin, and you should create something like this at the end of your loom. Can't really show you because my camera is not positioned for this. Or wait, hold on. So it should look something like this. Gonna do a cool editing trick there, but anyway. Once you have loomed the left row of rubber bands and the right row of rubber bands, it is now time to loom this middle row of rubber bands. Alright. So to loom this middle row of rubber bands here, you're going to need to return to the first middle pin once again, and that is where your cap band should be. And we're now going to, of course, loom this middle row of rubber bands. And to do that, you're going to need your hook once again, and you're just going to simply pull back the cap band again. Then you're going to grab the bottom rubber band again. And you really don't need to hold down the cap band this time, but if you feel the need to, then go ahead. But you're just going to loom this rubber band on your hook now, forwards to this second middle pin. Now here on the second middle pin, there's nothing you really need to pull back, but these frill rubber bands, I guess I can call them, these little extra rubber bands that were kind of just sitting there. You just you just need to push them back a little bit. You don't need to loom them or anything. Just push them back and grab the bottom rubber band on this second middle pin and loom it forwards to this third middle pin. Now, once you get here to this third middle pin, like I said before, if you've placed your triangle rubber bands correctly, then there should be a triangle rubber band on this third middle pin. You won't need to pull back any triangle rubber bands. But anyway, so to continue looming the rubber bands on this middle row of pins, you're just going to push back the frill rubber bands, or the little extra rubber bands that are kind of just sitting there. Grab this bottom rubber band on this third middle pin and loom it forwards to this fourth middle pin. I'm going to go ahead and turn my loom again so that the arrow is pointing to the left, and you do not need to do this. But anyway, once you get here to this fourth middle pin, you're just going to push back the frill rubber bands again, grab the bottom rubber band on this fourth middle pin, and loom it forwards to this fifth middle pin. And that's all you're going to do. You're just going to push back the frill rubber bands, grab the bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards the next middle pin on your loom until you get down here to this last middle pin. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and continue looming this middle row of rubber bands, and you should as well. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward from here, so use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so as you can see here, I have finished looming the rubber bands on this middle row of pins, or this middle pin bar, and you should have as well. And once you have finished looming all of the rubber bands on your loom should look something like this. Alright, so once your loom looks something like what I just showed you, it is now time to take your bracelet off of your loom. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need to get your hook and the last A-color rubber band you should have left. And yeah, so make sure you get those things, because now it is time to take your bracelet off of your loom. Now, to take your bracelet off of your loom, you're going to need to make sure that the arrow on your loom is pointing towards you still, just like it was when you were looming. And I can't really move these rubber bands, or these pink rubber bands, out of the way, but the arrow should be pointing towards you. Now, you can put this last A-color rubber band off to the side. We will not be needing it until the end, but you can pick up your hook, and, well, taking this bracelet off of your loom is very, very easy. You're just going to start on this first middle pin, and your cap band should be on your first middle pin still. And you're just going to pull your cap band off that pin, and you're also going to pull other rubber bands off of the other pins with your hook. So you just take your hook, grab the rubber bands on a pin, and pull them off just like so. And this is very easy, and it also, what it does is it reduces or takes away the chance of the rubber bands breaking or snapping when you take it off of your loom. So that way, if you did actually loom your bracelet correctly and the rubber bands and the bracelet's not falling apart, then you won't risk breaking your bracelet or any rubber bands on your loom when you take your bracelet off of your loom this way. By getting your hook, grabbing the rubber bands on a pin, and pulling them off like so. And well, that's all you're going to do. You're just going to continue taking rubber bands off of each pin, one pin at a time, going all the way down your loom until you get to this last middle pin. Do not take the rubber bands off of this last middle pin. Keep them on because you will need them to start your extension, and well, they're just very important, so don't take them off of this pin. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward from here. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright. So as you can see here, I have my bracelet on my loom still because, well, as you can see here, I kept the rubber bands on this last middle pin, and you should have done that as well. And once you have taken all of the rubber bands except for these here, you're going to get your hook and the last A-color rubber band you should have left, and what you're going to do is you're going to take your hook and you're going to stick it into this last middle pin, and you're going to stick your hook far enough down through the pin so that when you have your hook off out to the side, it catches all of the rubber bands on this pin. Then you're going to get this last A-color rubber band and you're going to put it onto your hook like so. There we go. And you're just going to slide your hook back up through this middle pin here, like that. And you should still have the other end in your fingers. But now, once you have pulled this end of the rubber band through these rubber bands on this pin with your hook, you're going to put this end of the rubber band that you're holding with your fingers onto your hook, along with this end that was on there before. So if I did confuse you, you should have something like this now. This rubber band on your hook, going through all of these rubber bands on this last and middle pin. Now anyway, once you have that, you can go ahead and take the rubber bands off of this last and middle pin, and you should have something like this on your hook now. Now, of course, if there are rubber bands starting to fall apart, then that obviously means you didn't stick your hook all the way through the pin, or you didn't catch all the rubber bands. Maybe one of them was hiding, it's being sneaky. Hate it when that happens. But hopefully you have what I have here, and if you do, it is now time to make your extension. Alright. So as you can see here, the pink background is back, and that means it is time to make your extension. And to make your extension, you're going to need your loom, and well, you're just going to need 2 pins on your loom. You're also going to need your bracelet still attached to your hook with this one rubber band. And you're also going to need some more rubber bands that will serve as the extension for your bracelet. And I'm just going to be using a mixture of all the rubber bands I used in my bracelet. Anyway, to make your extension, you're going to need to choose 2 pins on your loom, and they can be any 2 pins as long as they are next to each other, like these 2 I have chosen on my loom. Now, once you have chosen your 2 pins, you're going to transfer this rubber band on your hook onto those 2 pins. And to do that, you're going to grab one end of the rubber band on your hook and pull it off. Make sure the other end stays on your hook. And with this end that you were holding with your fingers now, you're going to place it onto one of the 2 pins you have chosen. So you should have something like this. Then you're going to take the other end of the rubber band that should still be on your hook, and you're going to transfer it onto the other pin you have chosen. So you should have something like this on your loom now. And once you do, it is now time to begin making your extension. And because this rubber band here is on 2 pins, that means you can make any kind of extension you want as long as the bracelet only requires 2 pins. So you could make a fishtail bracelet if you wanted to. But in this tutorial, I'm going to be making a simple single chain extension, and to do that, you're going to get an extension rubber band, and you're going to stretch it across these 2 pins that you have chosen, and the same 2 pins that this rubber band that you just transferred is on. Then you're going to want to get your hook back out, and you're going to just grab the bottom layer, so the bottom rubber band on both pins, and pull it over the pins it is on and onto this rubber band you just placed above it. So you get something like this on your loom. Then you're going to get another extension rubber band, and you're going to place it going across the same 2 pins as this rubber band placed before it. Then you're going to get your hook again, and you're just going to grab the bottom rubber band on both pins and pull it over the pin it is on and onto this rubber band that was placed above it. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make this single chain extension one more time. You're going to get an extension rubber band, stretch it across these same 2 pins as this rubber band placed before it. Then you will get your hook and grab the bottom layer on both pins and pull them over the pins they are on and onto this extension rubber band above. So now, as you can see here, my extension is literally already forming, and yours should be as well. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fast forward myself making my extension so that this tutorial or this video is not way too long and boring, because, well, making your extension is very easy. And yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and continue making my single chain extension. You should continue making your extension as well. And I'm also going to fast forward, so use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so now as you can see here, I have finished making my extension. So now it is long enough so that my bracelet will fit around my wrist, and yours should be as well. And what you're going to do now is you're going to get your clip and get ready to place it on both ends of your bracelet. Now, before we do attach our clip to both ends of our bracelet, we're going to need our hook one last time, and we're going to prepare this last extension rubber band for your clip. And I just dropped mine. Are you serious? There we go. Your clip. So just have your clip off to the side. I'm just gonna have mine all the way back here. So now it looks like it's peeking through the pins. Hello. And anyway, to get this last extension rubber band ready for your clip, you're going to need to get your hook and grab one end of this rubber band. So you're going to grab the rubber band on one of the two pins, then pull it off of the pin it is on, and bring it over to the other end of the rubber band on the other pin. So your end result is something like this. Now you can finally, at last, put your hook away, and you're now going to stretch this rubber band on this pin out to another pin on your loom. So you'll grab the extension, pulling this rubber band back onto another pin, like so. Now you can get your clip and attach it onto this now stretched out extension rubber band. Okay, that was really easy. For me at least. But if you haven't gotten your clip on yet, just use the pause button. But once you get your clip onto this last extension rubber band, you can take it off of your loom. And now your clip should be attached to one end of your bracelet. Now you're going to attach it to the other end, and the other end of your bracelet is the cap band. So to attach it to your cap band, you're going to first need to find your cap band. Then you're going to stretch your cap band out so that it is stretching across two pins on your loom. It does not matter what two pins. But once you have your cap band stretched out across any two pins on your loom, you're going to get your clip on the other end of your bracelet, and you're going to attach it to this now stretched out cap band. Right, once again, that was a little easy for me, but if you still haven't gotten your clip on, just use the pause button. And once you have your clip on your cap band, you can take your cap band off of the pins, and now your clip should be attached to both ends of your bracelet. So once this is true for you, you can go ahead and put your bracelet on, and bam. So as you can see here, I am now wearing my Spartan Helmet bracelet, and hopefully you are wearing yours as well. And, well, yeah, so now it's time for the outro. So I would like to thank you for watching my tutorial. Hopefully you were able to make this bracelet successfully, and if it took you several times, then that's alright. No one is perfect. And this actually does not look like a Spartan helmet whatsoever. This kind of does, but I didn't want to make the same thing again because that would be kind of dumb. But hey, I could have, but man, I wanted to make one that reminded me of summer because school started. But anyway, hopefully you have your Spartan Helmet bracelet, and hopefully you are enjoying your Spartan Helmet bracelet. And hopefully you are also going to show it off and say, look what I made, everybody. Aren't you jealous? And then you can just tell them, well, I just watched this awesome tutorial. I mean, this tutorial by some person. I gotta look it up again. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say. So thanks for watching, and hold on. So if you liked making this bracelet, or if you like this bracelet and you want a crazier bracelet than this one with all these crazy frills on top, you can check out my other tutorial on this bracelet here, which is 3 rows of the frilly craziness, and it is called the Woolly Bear Caterpillar bracelet. And yeah, so if you like this bracelet, you may also like this bracelet. Ooh, ah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and bye.